Welcome back everybody to another round of World of Tanks subscriber replays. My name as always is Maxwell and today's first video is from the user CBS1. That's CBS1 and he's driving the WZ-120 on a standard battle on Severogorsk. WZ-120 being the tier 9 medium tank for the Chinese. This thing, pretty nice tank, gets a decent cannon, good speed and maneuverability. Doesn't have on paper fantastic armor, but with the lovely slope that those Chinese Russian inspired tanks get, they tend to be very bouncy. They can bounce a lot of shots. So CBS is going to be heading all the way over to this left hand flank first. A little bit of an unusual choice, as you normally see those medium tanks heading up the right hand flank. Getting some early eyes on that area, excuse me. So finds an AMX 1375, gets a good hit on him. And the downside to these good Chinese cannons is, as you've probably already seen, the horrendous aiming time that they do have. So you've really got to predict where the enemy's going to be before they know where they're going to be if you want to land good accurate shots, or you could always just snapshot everything like I tend to do, but then if you've watched any of the live streams you know for a fact that those shots don't tend to hit very often. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, normally you find the medium tanks on that right hand flank over there all going straight up the centre. Gets a good hit on the rear of that Chaffee, takes him out pretty quickly. That's 2 kills now, only being 2 minutes into the match. Still wants to get a hit on this T-54. Is it a T-54? And did fire a shot off at him earlier, but missed, unfortunately. So just going to be tracking him now as he makes his way up the mountain. Gets a good hit on him there. And then he disappears behind cover. Spots an AMX-12T making a rush for their cap circle, but to be honest, there's a Yag Tiger defending over that way and another AMX-12T going for him. That T-54 popped out as CBS was spotted out here. Thought he could land some free damage on him, but instead just gets himself taken out as CBS was already keeping an eye on that location. Gets a very nice hit on the side of that T-34 there. So it looks like the enemy's not really concentrating any forces on this flank. CBS not really wanting to push as his allies behind him there, the IS-6 and the Waffenträger Aufpanzer IV, not really wanting to push either. Takes a hit in the front from this T-25-2. He just takes his free shot and then disappears over the ridge. CBS going to have to be careful here in case the artillery decides to rain in, as the enemy does have 2 artillery pieces, but it looks like they must be preoccupied somewhere else. It's a good hit on the T-25-2 there. Not quite able to take him out, but now he's got to pay more attention to the tanks behind him that push straight up that frozen riverbed from earlier, as they were landing shots on his rear there. Just going to head down the hill and disappear a little bit. Probably let his camo kick back in, and then it looks like he's going to take to the valley himself and try and get some righteous justice against these guys here. Already got himself 3 kills and a decent amount of damage. This IS-8 comes around the corner. I think he came steaming around the corner a little bit too quickly, not really sure what was going to happen. His turret is all over the place, gun pointing everywhere but at the target. He did decide to drop back a little bit now, but to be honest, I think CBS is going to be able to duel with this guy, as he's either suffering from terrible lag or has absolutely no clue what he's doing. Got to be careful here. He's paying more attention to the guys on top of the hill. Luckily that T-34 just plants his shot into the ground there. CBS not wanting to take any damage from that ST-1 on the ridge, and E-75 bravely comes in and shows the T-34 and the IS-8 how it is done when you are a heavy tank. When you're a heavy tank, you want to just get in there, get in and amongst them and show them who is the boss, and that is exactly what this E-75 is doing now, backed up by the WZ of CBS1 here, who was able to take out the IS-8 as well, and that was kill number 5. So game's still fairly even at 6 kills to 6. Not really sure where the Allies have lost most of their tanks. I think it's on that hill on the right hand flank, so it's probably a good job that CBS didn't head over there, or else he probably would have met with a similar fate. And as I mentioned earlier, that left-hand flank not pushing at all, even though some of the tanks that were defending have now decided to move on off that area. The Yag Tiger moved across a little bit, and the IS-8 has totally abandoned his camping spot. So it looks like CBS is going to head back across to this left-hand side, just maybe to get some eyes on that ridge to see if anybody is deciding to push there. Got to play it carefully, because if the enemy team can get down this hill and take an entrenched position further down, sort of around about this position or this position here, then they could be pretty hard to shift. And if they can get in and onto the artillery pieces in the south there, then the Allied team's going to be in serious trouble. But as it is, the IS-8 and the E-75 both deciding to go and bolster the forces on that right-hand side, just trying the overwhelming force tactic of put as many people on that flank as you can, and hopefully you should be able to win the day. But it looks like the enemy are content just to sit back at the moment. They've got a WZ treble 1-1-4 up there, and that Tiger 2, and again, they're not really being assaulted by anybody at the moment. Enemy team more than happy just to try and wait this one out for a while. CBS just advancing very, very slowly. Doesn't want to make a mistake and get himself out too far, like the early light tanks that we saw on that right-hand side, getting taken out pretty quickly because they pushed up way too far. Now, I would have thought that ST1 and T25-2 would still be on the ridge there. We've got an IS-3 all the way back here for some reason. Spots CBS-1, and that is the troll armor of the IS-3 coming into effect there, as that shot just bounces harmlessly. But they've got the WZ treble 1 in here to help them out, and an AT-15 up on the ridge. Going to zoom in and try and pick out his weak spot. But it looks like he's looking in a different direction, so this should be an easy bit of damage there, which indeed it is. And the AT-15 decides that discretion is the better part of valor and just decides to move on away. Got WZ covered off nicely in the trench there, so it's going to be a case of just moving in and trying to close down on the T25-2 from earlier. Finally gets the killing blow on him, takes him out, and that's kill number 6. And now himself and his other friend, the WZ 1-1-1-4, god, so many ones, are going to try and do some dueling with this ST1 here, except he finds a Tiger P up on the ridge. Not sure where he's come from. He's taken a considerable amount of damage, so he's obviously been battling somewhere else and decided to come across to this ridge later. Is able to take him out, but takes a massive hit from the Lorraine 155-50 there. Takes off a good chunk of his hit points, and he's got to play this one carefully. The ST1 focusing on the WZ there, so should be able to head around the corner and put one straight through the side of his turret there. Very nice shot, and it's going to give that ST1 something else to worry about, but while also covering himself off from the artillery fire, probably from the left-hand side, by using this building. Not wanting to risk anything, so just going to switch up to premium rounds just to put those straight through the front of this ST1, as that thing can be seriously troll with its armor, even more so than the IS-3 can be. So that is him dealt with. CBS-1 having a brilliant game so far with 7 kills. And now it looks like they've finally won on that right-hand flank, and it's going to be a case of just get into the enemy base and try and take out all this artillery. The Lorraine 155 makes a run for it. Everybody has a shot, but just fluffs it into the dirt, as the Lorraine 155's got way too much speed, although he's either crashed into something or just waiting here. I think he just decided that he was resigned to his fate, and he realizes there was no way out of this one, so just going to let himself get taken out, and CBS picks that one up for kill number 8. And now it's just a case of working down this AT-15. The Allied IS-8 doesn't want to die, but as it is, the 1-1-1-1-4 picks up the final kill, and that is GG and the victory. So absolutely awesome game there from CBS-1, picking up 8 kills and 5,500 points of damage. So absolutely awesome replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in. And don't forget, as always, there's another game and the score screen's coming right up. And our second replay of the day is from the user Robin Wester 12. That's Robin Wester 12, and he's driving the IS-6 on his standard battle on the Abbey. IS-6 being a tier 8 premium tank for the Russians. Now, I'm well aware that I think I've brought an IS-6 replay very recently. Well, not very recently, but at least within the last fortnight. and I try and space out the different tanks as best I can, but I've been holding on to this replay for a while now, and decided to just bring you this one anyway, and then we can go ahead and move on. One thing I do want to say to anybody that is waiting for their replays to get shown, as I stress every single time, although I love getting your replays and enjoy watching every single one of them, I do get shitloads of them. So if your replay doesn't get shown, it doesn't mean that it wasn't good or it wasn't awesome. It either just didn't quite fit with what I define as entertaining, which I've talked about in a vlog, so I'm not going to go into here. Or it may have just been a tank that I've shown recently, or a tank that I've shown a lot of, or it may just be an OP tank, blah blah blah. There are many reasons why replays don't get shown, but the major one is just time constraints. I don't have enough time to watch every single replay in minute detail. A lot of them get watched at times 16 speed. Not really sure what this IS is doing. I just don't think he wants to go by himself. He wants somebody to hold his hand up that road. Robin just deciding that there's no action to be had on that flank, so decides maybe to go across to the right hand side and give his allies a helping hand over there. As you can see, the enemy deciding to push through with quite a few tanks, and more than enough to outmatch the allied forces that went over there to do battle with them. So I'm going to be heading over to offer his services. As you can see, the allied team being pushed all the way back to the H line there. Well, actually, I tell a lie. They weren't really pushed back to the H line. They never really left. But as you can see, the enemy team just arranging themselves nicely there. And this is going to turn into one hell of a slugfest, as everybody's just kind of... Well, let's take a look. Everybody's just kind of walking on eggshells a bit. Nobody's really wanting to push against the enemy. You can't really blame them, as they do have a good strong showing of tanks on this right-hand side here. So nobody really wanting to be the first around the corner and possibly take some damage. But that's why Robin is here. Turns up on this flank, realises that he's probably got the best armour out of anybody here. Well, maybe apart from the VK-4502, because that does have some very nice front armour. But this thing is Russian and it is Troll, so he decides to show everybody how it's done and makes his move up this flank. Hasn't fired a shot yet, at an enemy tank at least, but still moving himself up, just going to put himself in the enemy's faces, say, come and get some if you like, and he's just going to push forward and put himself there as a steel wall so that his allies can move up off the back of his push here. Finds a Rheinmetall out here, gets a good hit on him and bounces one in return. Just moving out the way so that his allies can have a shot as well. But this is really what you want to do as a heavy tank, is you just want to push up like this and take the fight to the enemy. Takes a hit there from the IS, but all it manages to do is take his track out and do a little bit of damage. And his allies still hanging all the way back. It looks like they're starting to make a move now, as they realise that they're a little bit late to the meal. They may only be left with scraps if they're not a little bit quicker. This KV-3 gets a decent hit there, but doesn't do any damage. Starts to move forward. Not sure. He's trying to get in cover behind the corpse of this tank here. And the VK goes and just charges into his face, but Robin's able to pick up the kill on that. Well deserved for his push there on this flank. And then with his work being done, he decides to move off just like Superman. His work being done, decides to leave this flank, as he's not really going to be needed anymore. That Hellcat and 4502. Now, I was going to say the Centurion 1 would be able to push on their own, but the Centurion 1 obviously just decides to come with Robin in his IS-6 here. I'm going to see what adventures they can get up to on different parts of the map. So as you can see, the enemy team is pushing in from the left-hand side, but the Allies have a firm hold in the centre there with that KV-3 and T-69, so I'm not really sure how much they're going to have to worry about a push from this left-hand side, as the smarter tanks from that left-hand flank will have probably dropped back in an effort to try and do something about this KV-3 and this T-69. Robin just spots out a cheeky T-32 hiding behind the cliff there. He's just nicely sequestered behind those rocks. Going to see if he can get a shot on him Not really wanting to take that shot, as all he could see was the turret, really. And then the blasted boxes get in the way. But now he's got a perfect shot on the front armor of this T-32. Takes his shot, gets a good hit there. Not a fantastically high roll, but still does a decent amount of damage. Finally takes a hit in the front there, and it's from a fellow IS-6. So finally taking some significant damage, and it's from his counterpart there, who decides to put the rock between himself and him. T-32, not really sure what he's looking at. He's dueling with the IS in front of them, even though he had perfect rear shots on this Centurion 1 here. But he gets himself taken out pretty quickly by Robin here and becomes kill number 4. So this IS-6 and T-34 still trying to push up the ridge. T-34 decides to go for it a little bit, even though he's probably in a much better, would have been better in the position that the IS-6 was in. Basically, those two should have changed places there. The T-34 should have stayed where the IS-6 is, and the IS-6 should have probably pushed up here, but he was on pretty low health anyway, so you can't really blame him for hanging around in the back. And as it is anyway, front armor of the T-34 seems strong enough, as Robin did bounce there. He's trying to lure him into taking a shot. Really, this Centurion 1 with the T-34 gun being mostly focused on the IS-6 should have made his move and gone out. As it was, just decides to sit there and take a hit from the T-34. Almost reloaded his cannon, so this should be another good chunk of damage on the T-34. Just trying to pick out a weak spot. Don't want to get track-only damage, as that could prove to be fatal. Centurion 1 finally landing a good shot. Just got to keep an eye on where his gun is. Still got a couple of seconds on his reload, but he's going to have to be a lot quicker about this shot. Finally gets one through the front, picks him up, and that is kill number 5. So it looks like that KB3 and the T-69 from earlier have now been dealt with. As I was talking about earlier, the smart tanks did indeed go back and fend off that small attack. The guys on the right-hand flank as well haven't seemed to fare particularly well. The VK-4502 and the Hellcat getting decimated by the guys who were defending the base. It looks like maybe that KV-1S, KV-3 and that T-69 were back there to defend. Maybe the allied T-69 looks like he may be stuck in a ditch somewhere, as he hasn't moved from that spot for quite some time. He's either... Nope, he's dead. Gets taken out by that KV-1S. Robin's got to be careful here, because there is a T-69 lurking somewhere in this area. It was last spotted on this road here. And the game is fairly even at 11 kills to 11, but I know for a fact that the Centurion 1 is on very, very low health. As you can see there, 44. The IS also on very, very low health. So doing what any new-ish player on very low health would do and sit as far back as possible. Even though they're going to be absolutely no help to the team back there. At least if they go forward and die in one shot, at least it means that they have eaten up a shot that could be used to take out Robin here in his IS-6. Basically just being health bait. People baited into taking the kill shot rather than taking out the higher priority target of the IS-6. So really those guys should have come all together at the same time, straight up towards the base here. Probably would have fared a lot better. Finds the KV-3 here. Oh, a little bit unfortunate. Looks like he may have disconnected from the game. So just gets a good hit on him. The only thing, I've talked about this before, is the KV-3 is still proxy spotting for his team. So Robin got to be careful. Doesn't take a second shot at him, as he knows that there could be somebody else lurking around in the area. Does finally take a second shot at the KV-3. I think that's probably the T-69. Yes, it is indeed the T-69. There's 3 shots rain in pretty quickly. One more shot to absorb from this T-69, and there we go. He should be out now. And the Centurion 1 finally decides to start making a move. The KV-1S shows himself. As you can see, just ignoring the KV-3 now to try and take out this KV-1S. As the KV-1S is actually here. But he gets taken out by a lovely shot by the AMX-13 there. And now just taking refuge from the... Oh, accidentally pressed the mouse button there, I'm pretty sure. Taking refuge from the T-69 here. He's got a little bit of time, as that T-69 doesn't have a shot on him. He did take out the Centurion 1. But as I said earlier, if that IS and Centurion 1 had come with Robin in the first place, the T-69 would have taken those two out anyway, and Robin would be left with still almost full hit points. Does finally take out the KV-3, and that just leaves himself versus the T-69 IS-3. I'm not really counting the Allied IS in this, as he only has 86 hit points, and let's be 100% fair to him, doesn't have a fantastic win record, so probably not going to be that useful. But there is still an IS-3 lurking somewhere as well. He's picked himself up 2 kills, so he's not AFK, and he's not a particular slouch either, but Robin is having a fantastic game so far. 4 and a bit thousand points of damage and 6 kills. Just trying to wait out the T-69 here. But decides instead to head into the town to try and pick him off. Finds the KV-3 here, has a snapshot on the move, and that famous Russian accuracy letting him down, and that one not quite landing. I think the IS-3 hasn't actually moved since for about the last 8 minutes. He's been sat in exactly the same spot. He's going to drop back behind the building, let his cannon reload, pops himself out a little bit early just to allow his gun time to aim. The IS fluffs his shot. The T-69 appears on the ridge. Got to be careful here as he has side and rear armor views of Robin. Takes a big hit in return. And if the T-69 can land one good shot, this is going to be curtains for the Allied team. But it looks like he's either scared or he's used all of his shots. Maybe he's fired a 4th that I wasn't aware of, that I missed. And he's dropped down behind the ridge. Got to be careful now because this IS-3 is also making threatening moves. Although the IS-3 is pretty reluctant. Has his shot and fluffs it. Rushed that one just a little bit. Robin takes his time, focuses on the weak spot, takes him out. There's the T-69. Reloaded his cannon, has his first and second shot. The artillery reins in. Third shot bounces. Can the 4th shot do anything? Nope, it bounces as well. The T-69 stays out in the open and gets himself taken out there. For some reason, hanging out in the open. Really should have just poked himself back as soon as he could. But for some reason left himself hanging out in the open and gets himself taken out. But absolutely awesome replay there from Robin Wester 12, picking himself up 8 kills and 5,500 points of damage with a nail-biting climax to that one. So thank you very much for sending that replay in. Don't forget, guys, if you've got yourself a good replay, then please send that to replay@screenreality.com. Link for that is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, entertaining, and maybe learned something, leave me a like, favourite, and put a comment in the comment section below letting me know exactly what you thought. And if you're not already, then definitely think about hitting that subscribe button for a lot more content like this in the future. I've been Maxwell, this has been World of Tanks, and I will catch you guys next time.